OpenAI just released a new feature in ChatGPT called Code Interpreter. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use this. And in short, what it does is it enables anyone to be an analyst, a financial analyst, a data analyst. So if you are a financial analyst, a bookkeeper, a tax planner, any kind of tax pro, an accountant, a CPA, stick around because I'm going to go through about a dozen different examples of how you can actually use this tool. No experience necessary, no experience needed. Basically, if you can use ChatGPT, you can actually use this. So we're going to go through a few examples, and I'm going to show you how powerful this tool is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and it kind of starts on Twitter. I actually did this, lost sleep this weekend doing this long Twitter thread on it. So basically, the idea here is that they released a new feature called Code Interpreter here. Okay, and once you enable it, you're able to do some really cool things. So just to kind of go through a few quick examples here. First thing is segment your customer in seconds, okay? So basically, it takes a spreadsheet and then comes up with different segments of music markets on its own, right? So you can you can basically upload any spreadsheet, and what used to take maybe between 1 to 3 hours, ChatGPT 4 with Code Interpreter does it in about 10 seconds, okay? So imagine segmenting all your customers based on just a document that you uploaded. So it can take any document, PDFs, Excel files, CSV files, docs. You just upload it and it goes to town. So I'm going to show you a little later. We're going to go through an in-depth example. Another one, upload any invoice and extract all the info, right? So maybe a bookkeeper is going to, spend some time going through all these different, categories of the invoice and all these transactions. Well, you can do this in just seconds with GPT-4. Another example is find Bitcoin price seasonal changes, right? So it takes analysts maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour. GPT-4 takes about 7 seconds to get a comprehensive analysis on seasonal changes with Bitcoin prices. Another example, linear regression analysis, right? You can say, hey, Code Interpreter, run linear regression on my data set. And no need to, do any kind of calculations on your own. It just does the work for you. It takes a financial analyst maybe 2 to 3.5 hours to do something like this. In GPT-4, it takes 6.5 seconds. Another one, visualize trends from an uploaded CSV file, right? So you can visualize trends here. I'm just going to go through a couple more of these. Video editing, right? So you can actually edit videos using this new feature, and you can take an image and make it into an actual MP4 movie. This is pretty cool. Graph any public data, right? So you can grab information, like in this case, public data from the IMF. You can visualize it. It'd take a data analyst about an hour or so to do it. You can do this in about 12 seconds with the new GPT-4 feature. You can do radar charts, for example, of your music. In this example, said, hey, Code Interpreter, analyze my 300-hour Spotify playlist. Who knows how long this would actually take a data analyst. In this case, it can do this in about 14 seconds with GPT-4. It can do cohort chart analysis. It can do things like analyze real estate properties in any city and find the best deals. So, for example, I say, hey, Code Interpreter, and you can literally talk to it like this, by the way, and I'll show you a little later. Here's a file of 11,833 properties in Tallahassee. Which one's the best deal and why? So it'll take a real estate pro like weeks to actually do this kind of analysis, where it takes about 14 seconds for Code Interpreter. Okay. Plot mathematical functions, so you don't have to be a math whiz or know statistics to do this kind of chart. Clean any data, right? So for example, another real estate listings example, you can just upload your spreadsheet, and instead of taking hours, it can parse this information in about 8 seconds to kind of see, get the juicy parts of real estate information out of this. And then the last one here is you can analyze your financial statements, right? So income statement, cash flow statement, balance sheet. I'm going to actually show you this one right now because I am going to go into detail on how I'm going to take my information and go through this so you can see how to do this yourself. But like I said, this is pretty much the code interpreter. Dozens of use cases. So definitely check it out. It's under the ChatGPT Plus edition. It's a $20 a month edition. It's totally worth it. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to hop on over and we are going to use ChatGPT to go ahead and dig into this data. So the first thing I want to show you is, let's go here to my next screen. So this is ChatGPT 4, and what we're looking at here, we're just basically, the first thing we need to do is make sure that the code interpreter is enabled, right? So I'm going to go under my account and make sure that the settings are on for, go under this and then to beta features. And now I'm going to enable something called code interpreter, okay? So once that's on, I am good to go. So let me just kind of zoom out a little bit here so we can kind of see the screen a little better. And now that that is enabled, let me just kind of close up this a little bit. So now under GPT-4, you'll see something called Code Interpreter Beta. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. Okay, so now I'm just doing this live, no edit. So sometimes it may mess up a little bit, but let's see how far we can actually get through on this since this is a pretty new feature. Okay, so I'm going to, in this example, like I said, I'm going to give it some information. I'm going to give it some financial statements. We're going to actually have it look at some key financial data. So I'm going to give it income statement. I'm going to give it the cash flow statement, and I'm going to give it a balance sheet. So I have these stocks here, the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the balance sheet. So I'm going to take this, export it as a CSV file, and I'm going to feed it into ChatGPT 4. So once I have enabled the code interpreter, I'm going to actually set it up with a prompt because I could just go ahead and upload it and ask it for quick information, but I want to set the context, right? So I literally want it to be a financial analyst for me, okay? So I wrote a little prompt here to help me out with that. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in the prompt. And let's go ahead and, okay, so here it is. You are financial analyst GPT, an expert in financial analyst and strategic business advice. Analyze all 3 sheets in this financial doc for Acme Inc. and provide high-level, simple-to-understand, client-facing insights and recommendations. Be sure to include any concerns or anomalies. Include any necessary chart or other visualizations to support your observations. This information should all be in an easy-to-read report. So just grabbing my sheet here. So basically, I clicked on the little plus and I uploaded the this spreadsheet. So this is basically the same info here. It can be an Excel file, it can be a CSV file. So I basically took this and I'm uploading it here. Okay, so now that it is uploaded, I'm going to go ahead and click on send message. And let's see what happens. So it's doing all this in real time, right? So it's working in the background. You see this little code interpreter thing, and it says it's already finished working. Now, what goes on in the background is using a lot of code to parse this stuff. I'm not going to get into technical detail, but it uses Python and a few other scripts. You don't have to know anything about that, okay? So it's continuing to run in the background. If we click on this little drop down, you can kind of see what's going on in the background. If you're really technical, it'll tell you how it uses Python to parse through all this stuff beyond the scope of this video. So, okay, let's see what it comes back with. It says the Excel document contains financial data for Acme Inc. in 3 sheets: income statement, cash flow statement, balance sheet. Let's analyze each of these sheets in turn, starting with the income statement. I will load the data, perform an analysis, and provide insights and recommendations. Okay, so the income statement shows the revenue, costs, and profits for Acme Inc. for the years 2020, 2021, and 2022. The data includes revenue. Okay, so typical stuff: revenue, cost of goods sold, gross profit, distribution, marketing, administration expenses. Okay, and then let's further analyze this data to draw meaningful insights. It says, it seems there was an issue with how I tried to access the data from the data frame. I made the assumption that the rows of the data frame were indexed by the names of the financial metrics such as revenue, cost of goods sold. However, it appears that this is not the case. Let's adjust the approach and try again. So sometimes it will catch problems in your data, or it will detect problems that it made earlier and automatically try to fix it. You don't have to tell it to do so. Often it'll actually try to do that itself. Now, if we catch something that doesn't make sense, we can ask it to go and try again. But in this case, it caught it for us, which is pretty cool. Okay, it says, all right, finish working. The updated income statement data includes net profit, gross margin. Additionally, I calculated the year-over-year growth for each financial metric. This shows how each metric has changed from one year to the next. Here are some high-level observations and insights based on the data. Okay, so this is what we wanted. Revenue growth. Revenue has been grown consistently over the years, which is a good sign. It shows that the company's sales are increasing. Cost management. Both the cost of goods sold and distribution expenses have increased over time. This suggests the company's costs are rising as it grows. However, it's important to note that these costs have grown at a slower rate than revenue, which suggests that the company is managing its costs effectively. Okay, net profit margin, net profit and profit margin growth. The net profit and profit margin have also increased over time. This indicates the company is becoming more profitable. The increase in profit margin suggests the company is becoming more efficient in converting revenue into profit. And then lastly, marketing and administration. The marketing administration costs have grown over time, but at a slower rate than revenue. This suggests that the company is managing these costs effectively. Okay, so based on these observations, the company appears to be doing well financially, demonstrating consistent growth and improving profitability. Okay, so let's see. Now let's visualize some of the trends to get a clearer picture. Apologies for the confusion. It seems there was a mismatch in the dimensions of X and Y of the plot. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure what it's talking about. So it says, I'll correct this and replot the graph. So again, another example of it correcting itself. I'm not doing anything here. I just literally uploaded it. Okay, apologies for the confusion. I made an error while indexing the data for the plot. The slicing up. Okay, so it's very verbal, kind of telling you its mistakes. So we can skip over this. Now, what it did, it actually generated a chart here. So it says the chart above displays the revenue, net profit, and profit margin for Acme Inc. from 2020 to 2022. Okay, so it looks like it on the y-axis is the dollar amount, and then on the x-axis is the actual year here. Okay, so it's looking at revenue increasing, it's looking at the net profit, and it's looking at the profit margin as well. Okay, so key observations, and both the revenue and profit have been upward trend, indicating Acme is growing and becoming more profitable. The profit margin has also been increasing over this period. Okay, so these trends are positive. Acme is in good financial health. Now let's analyze the cash flow statement. So we went through the initial data here, and now we're going to go down to the next for the cash flow statement. It contains parentheses which denote negative values. However, these parentheses are causing an error because they are not recognized as a valid numerical format. I will replace the parentheses with a minus sign to represent negative values and then convert the data to numeric format. Okay, so basically what it's saying in that cash flow statement, I had these, of course, these represent the parentheses represent a negative number, but it's saying, hey, I don't really do it like that, because here's the thing. This income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet is it's pretty clean, right? But sometimes you can have it in really funky formats, and Code Interpreter does a good job at trying to read it in machine language versus the stuff that we're used to looking at. So this is just one little example here. So let's go back and said, all right, so it fixed that. Now it's showing here some key components. So it's talking about operating cash flow, represents cash generated from the company's regular business expenses. Okay, so it's basically summarizing that. Here's some key observations about the cash flow. The subtotal for the cash from operating activities has increased over the years, suggests that Acme operations are generating more cash over time. Okay. It gives me information about cash, the investing cash flow, financial cash flow, financing cash flow, cash balance. Let's just see if there's any other things that it found here. Okay, I said the cash balance at the end of the year has decreased over the years, indicating the company is spending more cash than it's generating. This could be a concern if it continues, as the company needs to maintain a sufficient cash balance to cover its short-term liabilities and unexpected expenses. Okay, so the company's cash flow management appears to be reasonable given that it's investing in its business and paying dividends to its shareholder. However, the decrease in cash balance could be a concern if it continues. The company may need to increase its cash inflows, decrease its cash outflows, or both. Now let's visualize the cash inflows and outflows to get a clearer picture. Apologies for the confusion. It seems I made an error while indexing. Okay, I made another error. So sometimes it gets so long it stops. So you just can literally type in the word continue and it will pick up right from where it left off from. So now what it's trying to do, it should be visualizing the cash flow here. So let's see if it's actually going to do that for us. So again, you can see it's working in the background. This process usually takes, up to about 10, 15 seconds or so. So it looks like it's finished in this case. And it's apologizing again. I made an error trying to plot something. I want to do this and correct it again. Okay, so again, it's it's parsing the data, it's trying to find errors because it's processing a lot of stuff in the background. Imagine trying to do that manually, looking through all these things, making sure everything is lining up perfectly. So this is what it aims to do. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it does a pretty darn good job. Okay, so now it says, since we're looking at cash inflows and outflows, it might be more appropriate to use a line graph instead of a bar chart. Let's plot the cash flow using a line graph. Okay, I think that makes sense, but let's see what visual it actually gives us. So, okay, so now it's going to plot the cash inflows and outflows from, let's just see here. Okay, so this chart displays the cash inflows from operating activities and other expenses and other increases and outflows, capital expenditure and dividends from 2020 to 2022 here. Okay, so it gives us this in this format here, the operating. Okay, so let's look at some of the key observations. Increasing steadily, indicating that operations are becoming more efficient at generating cash. Okay. Let's see if there's any gotchas here. The capital expenditure was high in 2020, dropped significantly in 2021, but rose again in 2022. This could indicate a reduction in investments in 2021, followed by increased investments in 2022. Let's fact check that. So if we are looking at our cash flow, let's look under, let's see, the capital expenditure here. Okay, so yeah, so it rose. It's $51.99 here. It decreased in 2021, and then it increased again in 2022. So that is correct. Okay. So again, you want to fact check. Definitely don't deliver this as is. You want to fact check everything. It talks about dividends, increase and decrease. Okay. So let's see. Let's go to the next one. So let's analyze the balance sheet. Okay. So talks about some key parts of the balance sheet, and now it's going to analyze it. So the updated balance sheet includes current ratio. This is calculated as the total current assets divided by the total current liabilities. It's a measure of the company's ability to pay short-term liabilities. Okay, so it basically tells us what these things are in different ratios. Here's some high-level observations and insights based on this data. Asset management. The company's total assets have increased over the years, which is a positive sign. It shows the company is growing and investing. However, the rate of total assets has slowed down slightly in 2022. Okay, the company's total liabilities have also increased over the year. This could be a concern and indicates the company has taken on more debt. However, the growth rate of total liabilities has also slowed down in 2022. Okay, shareholders' equity, current ratio, debt to equity ratio has decreased. Okay, and it's giving a little visualization of this as well. So the chart above displays the total assets, total liabilities is shareholder equity for Acme Inc. And then finally, the key observations here. So it says, based on the analysis, so this is a summary of the income statement, cash flow statement, balance sheet. Acme appears to be in good financial health. The company is growing its revenue and net profit, managing its costs effectively, and investing in business. It's also paying dividends to shareholders and maintaining a sufficient current ratio. Okay, and here are a few areas of concern. The cash balance, because it's been decreasing. The current ratio has decreased as well, and liabilities have been increasing over the years. So recommendations: improve cash flow management, improve current ratio, and reduce liabilities. Okay, let's ask it something else. Let's say let's do an acid test on this. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in a new question here. So now perform an asset test ratio and provide feedback on whether the business can cover its short-term liabilities. Okay, so Now it is going to process this and try to do a asset test ratio. Basically, it's trying to see how well it can actually, this is ratio to figure out how well it can actually cover those short-term liabilities that it has here. So asset test ratio, also known as a quick ratio, is a measure of a company's ability to cover short-term liabilities with its most liquid assets, okay? Okay, so it gives the calculation on how it does that. Now it says for Acme, the asset test ratio for the years are approximately 1.79, 1.64, and 1.51 respectively. This means that for every dollar of current liabilities, Acme has $1.79, $1.64, and $1.51 of the most liquid current assets in these years respectively. While this is the ratio is decreasing over these slightly over these years, it's still above 1. This suggests that Acme would be able to cover short-term liabilities even if it cannot sell its inventory, which is a positive sign. So basically, the asset test ratio, generally over 1 is a good sign, and these are well over 1. However, Acme should maintain or increase this ratio to ensure its short-term financial stability. Okay, let's look at another one. So let's ask it, so based on this, what else? Are there any other financial visualizations you can create that would be helpful in interpreting this data? So it can do all kinds of charts and plots, and just kind of like we saw on while we're waiting for that, just kind of like we saw on Twitter. It can do a lot of different analysis, but it really boils down to the questions that you ask it. Okay, so in this example, it says, okay, so it shows us the asset test ratio over the years. Okay, that looks, so it basically did a visualization on that. In addition to this, let's visualize a year-over-year growth. So it's going to do a year-over-year growth chart, and let's just see to show how these metrics are growing or shrinking over time. Okay, so it is plugging away at that, and I think we're going to do one more because, like I said, this is it just released, so I'm literally testing the waters on this here. Okay, so now the chart above displays the year-over-year growth rate of the total assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity. And this is basically like a single point here. What is up with this here? So this little funky growth rate. Let's just see here. I'm going to see if I can regenerate this response to see if it maybe can plot it out. If you don't like the answer it comes back with, you can click on that regenerate response and it will literally try again. Sometimes you just have to do it a few times just to kind of, get different information out of it. Okay, so this looks a little better here. It gives us the asset test ratio again. It gives us the key observations again. And now it's going to try to visualize the debt to equity ratio. So if you have specific ratios you want to see, you can just literally type it in there. I'm just asking it for like different ideas. So in this case, it gives us the debt to equity ratio here. Okay, and then it gives us a few key observations on that. Okay, well, this is basically the code interpreter and how we actually used it to look at the a lot of information here across the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the balance sheet. So, like I said, it is a newer feature. I think over time it is going to get a lot more robust. But I encourage you to try it. You literally just click on the plus sign, upload a document, and it actually goes to town. So this is basically Code Interpreter in a nutshell. If you like this video, you can see more of this stuff here at my new newsletter, where I produce all this stuff and showing you how to build a profitable practice while boosting your productivity using AI. And I have a lot of other examples and tutorials that I go through in depth. So definitely check it out. It's at infrontofai.com. So thanks much, and I'll see you on the next video.